One of the ways we can start to visualize how percents work are using percent bars and percent proportions. So what we're going to do here is set up a percent bar and a percent proportion for some specific fractions. And the first fraction we're going to look at is 1/5. So we have this whole thing. We know it's split up into fifths because there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 equal pieces. So I'm going to start setting up some proportions. Since we are doing part to whole relationships, the first thing I'm going to do is label where my part is. Here's my part. There's the one part. I'm going to label that 1. And then I'm going to label where my whole is. Here's the whole thing. That's all 5 pieces. And that represents my fraction. There is 1/5. Now, we want to figure out some percentages. So the whole, when we're talking about percent, is always 100. So that's going to go with my 5. That represents my 100%. And what I can see very clearly now is this visual representation that I have a whole thing divided into 5 pieces. So I could say that this 100% divided by 5 will give me what each one of these pieces is worth. And 100 divided by 5 is 20, which means that each of these parts is worth 20%. So my part here is 20%, which means that 1/5 is equal to 20/100ths. For those of you who like steps written out, here's your first steps. Go ahead and just label what you know. Parts go with parts. Again, that's the green we have there. Parts go with parts. Whole quantities go with whole quantities. 5 went with 100. Then your second step, if your fraction or percent bar is divided into equal parts, you can divide 100 by the number of total parts. Let's try one more example, this time looking at 3/4. So I'm going to do the exact same step. Only this time, my part is 3 and my whole is 4. So there's my 4 pieces. There's my fraction part and whole, 3 and 4. There's my percentage whole and my unknown percentage part. So since there are 4 total pieces here, I'm going to say 100 divided by 4 equals 25, which means that each one of these is 25%. There's 25%, which would make this one 50%, which would make this one 75%. So there is the part. And so my proportion would be 3/4 is equal to 75/100, or 75%. So now let's apply that same concept to a different scenario. Here we're being asked to find what is 50% of 50, or 25% of 50, or 10% of 50. And we can still use these number lines and our part to whole relationships. So for each of these situations, we know what the whole is. The whole is 50. Oh, hi, that's my cat Bella saying hi. Our whole is 50, and that represents 100% of the situation. So I went ahead and labeled my whole for all of these. So for our first ones, we need to decide what the part is. This one's easy. My part is 50%, which is just right in half. So we know my part here is going to be 50%, and we want to figure out what this number is. And what I can see here is that I have my whole thing cut in half. And I know that 50 is half of 100. So that means that this number, our unknown, or our x, needs to be half of 50. So I can take both those numbers and divide them by 2. 50 divided by 2 is 25, which means that this unknown quantity must be 25. So my proportion is 25 to parts of 50 is equal to 50% of 100. Go ahead and try the next two on your own and then come back and see how you did. There's the answer I got for number 4. Since 100 divided by 4 is 25, I need to take this 50 and divide it by 4 as well, which was 12.5. So my proportion is 12.5 parts of 50 is equal to 25% of 100. And for this last one, because 100% divided by 10 is your 10%, then I know 50 divided by 10 is going to be my answer, which is 5%. So 5 per 50 is equal to 10% per 100%. All right, go ahead and try those practice problems and let me know if I can help you with anything.